Waiting for my fridge to stop making noise. Hey everyone! So today I'm going to be going into a little bit more detail about my personal rating system, as well as some of the genres I like, tropes, and other little details that are within lots of the fantasy novels I read, as well as other novels. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into what I consider a 1-star book. Unlike the other star ratings that I'm going to go over in this video, for my 1-star, I don't have an example book, simply because if a book is truly a 1-star read for me, I'm not going to finish it. I find that a lot of times people feel pressured to read and finish a book, even if they don't like it, because they want to give a review of it and they know that rant reviews get a ton of views. I'm not saying that I'm not going to be doing any rant reviews. I'm probably gonna fall into that category and do some rant reviews. The key criteria is simply that I don't find it has any redeeming qualities. This means it's pretty hard for me to give a book a 1-star rating, simply because I find that a lot of books have redeeming qualities, even if I don't tend to like the narrative style, or the plot, or the characters, or what have you. Usually I can find at least one thing that I think is redeeming in a novel. Take Turtles All the Way Down, for example, which I'll touch on more when I talk about 2-star reviews for me. Even though I really did not like the plot or the characters, I still found that it had redeeming qualities, despite me not enjoying myself. That's what propped it up into the 2-star category for me. And again, because of this, I don't really rate books 1 star. More often than not, I just DNF them. Going into my 2-star categories, these are books that I objectively did not enjoy. But, as I said before with Turtles All the Way Down, I find some kind of redeeming quality with them. Be it a thing that they talk about that is very important, like OCD, or if it's something like the writing style, or I liked one character and I thought that character really made a book. If there was a really good romance, I can also include that in that category. Overall, 2-star reads for me, I can push through to finish the book out, but I'm just probably not going to like it very much. And I will probably have a few words to say about why I don't like it very much. On to a 3-star review. 3-star reviews are reviews that I kind of feel about. They're not necessarily the worst things. There were definitely parts I enjoyed. It just didn't wow me. It's not something I'm likely to recommend to someone else, but it's not something that I would shy away from recommending to someone else. These are often books that are either not in my genre, not my cup of tea, or just don't have tropes I like. A lot of times I think that they're written fine. I don't find too many problems with them. I think the characters are completely adequate. There just isn't a lot to go off of. A lot of times 3-star reviews are just things that are down to preference. Certain things that I love in my fiction are not going to be the same that other people love. And that's totally fine. We have different opinions for a reason. It makes the world a much more interesting place. A good example of a 3-star read for me is The Pact by Jodi Picoult. Now, I actually love Jodi Picoult. I've read so many of her books, and as far as non-fantasy, non-sci-fi genres go, she's probably my favorite author. That being said, The Pact just didn't do it for me. With this book, there were just simply things I didn't like as much as I liked in other Jodi Picoult novels. I thought that the kind of crime, that happened was less interesting than some of her other courtroom dramas. Also, I found that the characters were very well rounded. They just didn't interest me, and I didn't really empathize with them. But I thought that they were well written. Anyway, this was an book for me. Obviously, I've read it a few times. The spine's pretty cracked there. But I would recommend it to some people, not others. It was fine. It was a book. On to my 4-star reviews. 4-star books are books that I genuinely enjoyed. These are books that I would recommend to others and that check off a lot of the boxes in my preferred genres. That being said, I have absolutely given 4-star reviews to books that are not fantasy or sci-fi or romance. That is common for me. The Prey of Gods by Nikki Drayden is a great example of a 4-star book for me. I really enjoyed myself, I loved the characters, and I thought the plot was very interesting. it just took me a little while to get through it. There were parts that I thought were very slow and monotonous, and overall, I think that there was just more that could have been done. Honestly though, I'd recommend this to a lot of people who love sci-fantasy, which is usually not my preferred genre, and even people who didn't, because it just took me along for a ride. Anyway, enough about 4-star reviews. Let's get to what you guys really want to know about. What does it take to get me to a full 5-star review? It's not like there could be any series that I would give 5 stars to pretty much throughout, is there? It's Mistborn. Yeah, it's Mistborn. I love Mistborn. A 5-star book for me is a book that I absolutely devoured. Once I started reading, I couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down. I fell in love. And time passed like crazy. 5-star reads for me usually check off all of my boxes on my little checklist, with some exceptions, like Station 11, which I will be doing a review for later in the week, which wasn't my preferred genre. 5-star reads for me are filled with characters I love, romances that I can totally get behind, plots that just string me along and take me with them, worlds that I want to dive into, and writing that is beautiful, or at least hits that just core inside me that makes me smile and happy. In summary, a 1-star review is something I do not see any redeeming qualities in, I don't like personally, and I'm not going to finish most likely. A 2-star review is something that I see redeeming qualities in, but it's just not for me in multiple ways. A 3-star review is very middle ground. I liked things, I didn't like things. I understand why people like it, and I might recommend it to you if I think it's your kind of genre. A 4-star review is something I genuinely enjoyed. I think it's very good, and I would recommend this fairly highly to people, especially if it checks off their boxes. And finally, a 5-star review is something I got absolutely lost in, and I would recommend to everyone, and I won't shut up about. So I've been talking a lot about boxes and checking boxes and fits all my boxes and criteria. So what exactly are my boxes on my checklist? What do I like? What do I enjoy? What do I simp over? And what do I just wish would go in a hole and die? Well, first things first, I love a good romance. I am one of those people who believes that if there is a bad romance in a novel, it can honestly ruin the novel. I think if you develop a good romance, you can show a lot about characters, about the world you're living in, about the culture and the thoughts and feelings that people have. And I think romance also is something that's just so enjoyable and human. It makes us instantly relate to the characters and empathize with them. That being said, I don't think a book needs to have a romance. It's just that if there is a good romance, it adds just that extra little cherry on top for me, and I really enjoy them. The second box on my checklist of preferences and things that I just love is a strong female protagonist. It's the reason why I read a lot of YA fantasy, and also the reason why I'm very selective over my sci-fi especially, and my fantasy. There are absolutely adult fantasy and adult sci-fi books with strong female protagonists that kick ass, and I love them. So I'm not saying this is solely from YA genre or anything like that, but it is something that's very important to me. I have read way too many books where women are either objectified, seen as weak, or damsel in distress, and I'm just glad times are changing. The third little box on my checklist is good side characters. I often find that if a book has really dull side characters, it doesn't matter how good the main protagonists are, I'm gonna get bored. I find that side characters help explore a whole different side to the world that you're not getting from a singular perspective of a protagonist. Oftentimes, the protagonist has a set worldview, and that might change throughout the book, but oftentimes it stays around the same zone. Side characters allow you to explore completely different aspects of the world, completely different aspects of a culture. I think they're imperative to making a really strong, fully realized world. And if your side characters aren't good, you're not fully utilizing that world that you've created. On to my fourth checkbox, which is that I prefer dark novels, dark characters, and dark plots. Now, this is not to say that I don't enjoy a nice, calm, relaxing book read that feels like a hug. It's just that I don't go towards those. I guess that just makes me a gritty person, but I find that dark fantasy, dark sci-fi, and even dark contemporary fiction ends up being just so much more interesting than anything that is just a fluffy little piece. Dark fiction in general just helps us explore humanity, ourselves, and the world, in short. That being said, I don't think those things are exclusive to dark fiction. I just like the way that dark fiction talks about those issues and makes me question those things. And the last little box on my checklist for tropes and things that I just genuinely like is a hard magic system. I will absolutely read soft magic systems, and some of my favorite novels and series of all time are soft magic systems. They just, check off other boxes. That being said, hard magic systems just make my heart so happy. I grew up watching Full Metal Alchemist, which is kind of the cornerstone of hard magic systems, so something about them has always appealed to me. I like rules and having to figure out how to break them while also staying within certain confines. I think hard magic systems end up having to make the reader turn into a little bit of a detective. We have to figure out how the characters are going to get out of this bind, how they can bend the rules that the world has created, while still making us say at the end, oh yeah, no, that makes sense, that works. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this clears up a little bit about my star rating system and also the tropes and genres that I tend to be reading on this channel. Have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you on Friday for the next video.